1996. International Director of Zones 3334, 2010 to 12. Chairman of the Rotary Board of Directors Executive Committee. And 2018-19, he's assistant to our new Rotary President, Barry. John and his wife Cindy have 3 daughters, Jessica, Stephanie, and Amanda. He continues to live in beautiful Naples, Florida, but I know John goes back and forth now with his busy year between Florida and Evanston to certainly take care of all his Rotary duties and assisting President Barry. So without any further ado, I want to turn it over to our distinguished Rotarian and the assistant to President Barry, John Smarge. And just want to say one thing. I've known, and I know a lot of us have known John for many years. I've met and seen John at many PETs over the years in Florida, and I know he's been at many distinguished Rotary conventions and talks and so forth. So it's really great. I saw John several months ago at PETs, gave him my card, and he certainly remembered me, and I said I would love to have him talk on our E-Club call to our members, and he said he would. And, you know, John's a busy guy, and about 2 months ago, about a month and a half ago, I got a call from him, and he said he'd love to do it, and I think that's just wonderful. So without further ado, I want to turn it over to John. Thank you so much for being here, John. We have pretty much a full, you can't see it on the screen, but we have a lot of Rotarians on the call tonight from many districts throughout the world, and we're turning over to you. We're so happy you're here, and thank you so much for starting our new Rotary year, being the inspiration, and I know all of us certainly want to hear from you tonight. So thanks, John, for being here. I'll turn it over to you.
Andrew, thank you for the wonderful introduction. And fellow Rotarians, I'm really pleased to be here. I'm sorry I don't have video. I actually wore a pair of pants to the meeting just because video would be playing. So if I would have known this, I would have come just with a t-shirt and no pants. But anyway, I'm dressed for the occasion.
John, just I beg you, I forgot something. Can I go real quick and have everybody introduce themselves? I forgot you don't have video. So real quickly, who they are and where they're from. That way you can have a little bit of an idea for some of your friends for many years who are on the call.
Please do.
I want to start. Okay, Andrew Bernstein, current president of the Rotary E-Club of the USA and the Caribbean. This is my second year as president. Let's go around the call. I think, Paul, if you want to come on, just go around the screen.
Hello, I'm Paul McAfee. I'm with the brand newly chartered Rotary Club of Motorcycling Rotarians from District 6380.
And I'm Mike Stafford, Rotary Club of Freeport, Bahamas, the best country in the world.
I'm Terry Moore with the Somerville Evening Rotary Club in District 7770, and I'm also a member of the Motorcycling Rotarians Club.
I'm Will Miller. I'm a past district governor of 6950, and I'm a member of the E-Club of the Southeast USA and Caribbean.
And I'm Alicia Bostorff Miller. I'm a biologist, photographer, and scouter, and also a member of the E-Club.
I'm Patty Hendrick. I'm with the E-Club of the Carolinas, and I live in Conway, South Carolina.
Robin Foley, Rotary Club, Southeast US and the Carolina and the Caribbean. Spending too much time with these Carolina guys, retired financial services. And I have a guest this evening, Rotarian from Pensacola Cantonment Rotary, Carol Dickerson, and you are classification or
nonprofit.
Nonprofit. Cool.
David Croner, member of the same club as Robin and Andrew, living near Miami, Florida.
John, Gary Goforth, not far from you in Fort Myers. I'm a member of the Rotary Club of the E-Club of the Carolinas.
I'm Ann Barron. I'm from the E-Club of the Carolinas, 7770 and I'm the president of the Club of the Carolinas.
Is that everybody?
No, I'm Eloy Nunez. I'm
Yeah, hi.
District Governor.
Hi, Governor.
69. Hi, Ed. And I'm with the Rotary Club of Inverness, Florida. And I am wearing my pants too, John, just so you know.
I got pants on.
John, I think it's back. And John, I think it's back to you. That's everybody. So welcome again, everybody. Thanks for being here. And John, I throw it back to you now that you have a kind of idea who we are and we have our pants on.
Well, that's great. I see a lot of friendly faces who I see around the country and the world, and happy really to do this. I didn't know much about it, Andrew, prior to your request of me, and I think it's a great idea, and I don't understand why more folks aren't jumping on to do this. In figuring out what I was going to talk about this evening, I figured I'd just talk about some random thoughts. And along the way, I know you have a chat box opportunity there. So if you have questions, feel free to ask them. And if I say something that you want me to go off on a tangent on, please do, because this is your time. I wanted to start by talking a little bit about the role I have as aide to the president. Some find it interesting. I get asked a lot of questions about am I traveling with Barry everywhere and what I do. So I just like to kind of tell you what this role means. It began for me in October of 2016 when Sam Awori was confirmed as president nominee for Rotary. He, of course, would have been the first Ugandan president of Rotary, would have been only the second African president of Rotary. Sam passed away, as you know, 10 days into his year as president-elect. And it was the first time in the history of our organization that either a president-elect or a president had passed away while in office. We didn't really know what to do because there was no process in place. Sam passed away on a Friday. I flew to Evanston on a Sunday and spent the week in Evanston trying to assist everyone who was in disarray, not knowing what do we do. I was not the president-elect, but there were meetings to hold, and committees were asking for responses from Sam that he couldn't give. So I spent a week there. I worked with President Ian in talking about how we would go about selecting the next president. And I must say that Ian was the right person at the right time as a president. He truly made decisions that everyone he was strong about it, and we needed someone at that time to simply say, this is the way we're going to do it, and so be it. And he really did well. We selected a nominating committee. Now, bear in mind, the nominating committee for president is a one-year term. So that the president nominating committee who selected Sam originally was not the committee that could serve to select the next president, because it was July 1 and there was a whole new nominating committee. Unlike district governors, or in some cases directors, where the committee selects an alternate, there was no alternate selected during the president nominating committee. I know that because I served on the nominating committee that elected Sam. So they had to go back to those candidates who had put their name in originally against Sam, and you use the nominating committee who was going to select the 1920 president, Mark Maloney, as well as Sam's replacement. Something happened that was kind of odd. 3 people who were on the nominating committee to select Mark Maloney were also in the running against Sam. They were candidates. And so those 3 members were not allowed to put their name back in for president. The reason being is once you agree to serve on a nominating committee, you state that under no circumstances will you put your name in for president. Even though they weren't going to be selected for the 1920 year, because they had been on the nominating committee for that year, they had to remove their names to put their name up against Barry Rassin. So we had 3 candidates who really were in a tough situation. But all 3, being wonderful Rotarians, said, you know what? This is the way it is. We will not have our names submitted as president, so we will serve on a committee. So Barry was selected in August of 2018, and he says that I was the second phone call. I believe I was the first phone call, but to keep peace with Esther, I will go with the fact that I was the second phone call from Barry asking me if I would serve as his aide. Understand that the aide is not to the office, it is to the person. So when Sam passed away, I was no longer aide, and Barry could have chosen whomever he wished to be aide. Now, Barry had to very quickly get back on track or hit the road running. It was a Tuesday evening that he was nominated. I flew to Nassau, Bahamas on Friday to spend the weekend with he and Esther to catch him up and move us forward. On Saturday, we spent 10 hours at the dining room table. He did give me beer around 2 o'clock. Collect beer, just so you know, Mike, it was collect beer. And we worked for 10 hours on nothing but the International Assembly. Sam had established his assembly and how he wanted it. Barry had some similar ideas, but Barry is a master trainer, having been trainer of the trainers for some number of years at the assembly, and he had a real strong desire on how he wanted it to be conducted. So we spent 10 hours and virtually wrote the entire assembly program, including who the speakers we wanted, who the session leaders were going to be, from beginning to end. And Barry already had his theme figured out by that Saturday. And so he was probably, I honestly say that I don't know if anybody could have done what Barry did. The fact that he was 12 months behind and he quickly got things rolling where we didn't miss a beat. So I want to tell you my role, my job. Each president views their aide in a different manner. Now, I do not travel with Barry. I travel with Barry only during the big meetings, like the International Assembly and the convention. When he is out on the road, he is assisted by aides that are provided by the local area. Barry, when you think about his role, 20 days of the year, he's in the boardroom. Only 20 days of the year. 25 days of the year, he's in the office doing other activities. He gets 20 days off where he's actually in Nassau in the Bahamas. And he has 300 days on the road. I repeat, he has 300 days on the road. For those of us who travel a little bit and know how aggravating it is, you can imagine what it feels like to just basically be living out of a suitcase. And we run him on about 23 or 24 days a month increments, and then we bring them back for 3 or 4 or 5 days, and then run them for another 23 or 24 days. I attend committee meetings for him. So when he is unable to be, obviously, at Evanston, if he needs to be to have representation at the finance committee or the membership committee, I go back and forth to Evanston and meet with those committees. I also meet with staff and liaison for him. I also liaison with others in the Rotary world and outside the Rotary world. If you were at the convention in Toronto, you might remember Helen Clark. She's the previous Prime Minister of New Zealand. She works with a group called Club de Madrid, which is made up of past world leaders of those countries that are free. We met with Helen Clark at the convention, and she wants Barry to go to Lisbon to meet with the Club de Madrid in next March, I believe it is. So I'm working now, spending time talking with the Club de Madrid on how Rotary can interface with this powerful organization and how they can use those past world leaders to prop up the Rotary world stage. So that's one of those things that I'm doing. A week from Monday, I will be in Evanston again, but this time, once again, on the nominating committee for our next president. This will be the third time that I sit on the nominating committee. I elected John Germ, I elected Sam Awori, and then now we'll elect our 2020-21 president, and we will be interviewing 7 candidates out of the 12 that were put their name in. And out of the 7 candidates, we have some really strong Rotarians. And I'm optimistic that we are going to push forward with some real progressive thinkers if at least one of my top 3 choices gets elected. So that is what I do. I spend about, when I'm in the office in Naples, I spend about 5 or 6 hours a day on Rotary things, just doing those kind of activities. And then the rest on business or activities that I do for my club or my district or my own personal interests I have in Rotary. What else random thoughts do I have today? Barry and Mark Maloney started a new committee. It's called Shaping Rotary's Future. What it basically is the Future Vision Committee for Rotary. What this committee is going to do over at least the next 2 years is look for ways to help Rotary become relevant and to provide new perspectives on our Rotary leaders, on regional structure, on the effectiveness of Rotary Institutes, on president's reps, on the RPICs, Regional Foundation Coordinators, on membership coordinators, and look at our entire organizational model and see if it is relevant. This could, in effect, be a upside down, turn it around, and start over again kind of philosophy. We're going to look at volunteer leaders and how they interface between directors and the clubs. Many people say that we have a frozen middle where activities occur in Evanston but kind of get stuck in between and are unable to be understood by the clubs, and vice versa. We have the 35,000 clubs out there who have a very strong cumulative idea about way that Rotary should be operating, but yet the Rotary leadership doesn't hear it. And so we need to start looking at the effectiveness of that dialogue and how we can be better at listening to the Rotarians and being an organization that Rotary clubs choose. So that I'm on that committee. Ian Risley is the chair of the committee. It is made up of 6 past directors, and virtually we're being told, start with a clean slate like they did with the Rotary Foundation for Future Vision, and tell us what we believe Rotary should look like to be a more effective organization. One of the things that I'm working on now, and I have been for a couple of years, is the district leadership plan. Now, I'm not certain if those of you in the audience are familiar with it, and if you're familiar with it, you may not be familiar with what it really means. Right now, here we are, July 26th. Probably in 500 districts around the world, you have district governors who are running feverishly, club to club to club, trying to see every Rotary club between July 1 and the end of October, or if you're in the Caribbean, maybe by January. And they think they're being effective leaders, when in reality, you should be doing first things first. In my view, the role of the district governor is to motivate the Rotary clubs to have a strong district and delegate your authority, and to look after strengthening clubs and building new clubs. How can you do that if between July 1 and October, the most important time of the year, you're unavailable to anyone because all you're doing is club visits? I will use my club at my district as an example. The first week of July, my area governor, and I'll use the term area governor because that's what we use. Our area governor came in and gave a presentation to my Rotary Club on Barry Rassin's theme, Barry Rassin's vision, the district governor's vision, she will then meet with our club and involve herself with an activity that is more comfortable for her and what our Rotary Club wants to see. We want to see the governor and work with us for a whole day, spend the pre-time of the event, and chat with us about Rotary. She'll probably make some official visits when clubs are giving out Paul Harris Fellows or inducting new members. If we are able to do a district leadership plan where our governors are not forced to make this chaotic rant around the district, we could have anybody be district governor. You don't have to be wealthy, you don't have to be retired, you don't have to have an ability to take off 3 months of the year. You can do it. And we can have 30-year-old district governors out there. And we also can take it from being a 50 club district to a 150 club district, because now we're utilizing these area governors. And I use the term area governor versus assistant governor, because in this model, these people are not assisting the governors. What they are doing is they are becoming governors of their area. They're the ones who are going back to the clubs time and time again. They're being confidants, they're being counsels, and this is the model we have to be taking. not where you're simply aiding the governor who is somewhere else not to be seen, but you're there front and center for the Rotary clubs. Right now, I will ask you to, if you are on a discussion group on My Rotary, I hope all of you get involved with that. At some point in time, go on to your discussion groups and search for district leadership plan and join the discussion group. We're supposed to narrow it down to 6 people who actually get interviewed. It happened there was a tie for 6th, so we are having 7 people interviewed. And this is the process that has been conducted the last 3 or 4 years in a row, where we actually have the face-to-face interviews. The first time when I interviewed for John Germ, we did the interviews remotely, which was not very fair to our international candidates who might be getting up at 4 in the morning to do an interview versus someone from North America who is at their normal time frame. So we chose to say, if once we do this, we will pay for the candidates to come and fly into Evanston. And so we'll spend the day with them on the 6th and interview those 7 candidates and come out with picking the best president that we have for 2020, 2021. Since you're on the nominating committee, you're not eligible for president. Absolutely. I'm not eligible for president, and I couldn't put my name in for president anyway, Mike, this year, because I would be serving with Barry, and he owns me. He owns me till June 30th of next year, and I couldn't serve as a president nominee and his aide at the same time. But he actually tells me that I'm his aide for life. So I'm not certain, but I only sign up till June 30th and I'm done. When will you put on your name for list? I'm not going to go and respond to that. Yeah. That's interesting. Patty Hendrick talking about a different way in which we're marketing Rotary. I served as the chairman of the communications committee for 2 years. During that time frame, we started the People of Action campaign. And I have a really interesting view about People of Action. I believe that the emphasis is not on the action as much as it is on the people. People of Action are not necessarily Rotarians. They're out in the community, and they're all over there, and we can find them, but we're not bringing them into our Rotary Club. So we need to get the people of Action who are currently out there and bring them into our Rotary clubs. Right now, the last couple of years, we've talked a lot about engagement, as though that is the silver bullet that is going to resolve our retention issues around the world in Rotary. My view about retention is it doesn't begin when the members are in the club. It begins before you even decide who it is that you're going to ask to join your Rotary Club. See, what we've been doing for so many years is we go out with a broad net and try to just grab people in from the community, bring them into Rotary, and believe that once we bring them in, we can either change the Rotary Club to suit them or change them to suit our Rotary Club. I believe that we need to be going after members, not with a large net, but with a rod and reel, with a certain type of bait that will only attract a certain kind of member. We need to be looking carefully at that person who we're bringing in the club to make them, to be sure that they fit who we want. Every club has a different culture. In my town, there are 6 different Rotary clubs. And each of those clubs, they attract a different person. So we can't broadly bring them in. I want to find for my Rotary club who it is that it wants exactly what we offer. The People of Action campaign is a way in which we target that audience. Basically because you're thinking about who you are. Together we inspire. Together we build relationships. Together we mentor. Whatever it is, the verb that you do in your Rotary Club is the verb that you are looking for those prospective members. So the People of Action campaign and this whole new marketing, I believe, is going to change the way in which we attract new members into our club. And once we attract them in a right manner, we're going to retain them because we are no longer broad-basing our thoughts. See what else I want to talk about. I want to talk about Haiti. And for those who were at the convention, heard the then Prime Minister Jacques-Guy Lafontaine via video talk about the initiative in Haiti. And I tell you the then because last week he resigned as Prime Minister. And that's part of the issue why he had not made the convention, because of some issues he was dealing with. And I'll tell you a quick story about that. What he did is he decided to raise fuel prices dramatically in Haiti, both for diesel fuel, for gasoline, and for kerosene oil. He did it and announced it during the World Cup, hoping that Brazil was going to win, because Haitians cheer for the Brazilian football team. And he figured if he raised the fuel prices during the World Cup game, that no one would notice it. And if they did, they'd be so happy that it wouldn't matter. Well, Brazil lost, and people were angry and in the streets rioting because Brazil had lost, and also rioting because Jacques Lafontaine raised the fuel prices. He did it in a very wonderful manner. The fuel prices would be the first taxation device that the government could collect money, and in return, he was going to provide electricity infrastructure to the Haitians. A very wonderful cause, but unfortunately wasn't looked upon by the Haitians as a good cause, and so he got thrown out of office, and now the president is looking for a new prime minister. With that being said, our Haitian hand wash program, which is our Haiti water and sanitation program, is still in effect. And with that, we are on a 12-year mission that the UN says will cost us $1.6 billion to provide fresh water and sanitation to every human being in the country of Haiti. We have a lot of great NGOs, non-government organizations in Haiti, some 20,000, that are working to aid Haiti. But the problem is that we've never been able to come up with a funding source that would give us the large amount of money that we needed to provide a large-scale program. And the reason being is, one, no one wants to give it to the Haitian government because no one trusts the Haitian government, and that's for due cause. But with Rotary coming in, and Rotary signing an agreement with the Haitian government called DINEPA, which is the group that handles all of the infrastructure in Haiti. So Rotary signs an agreement with DINEPA saying that we are going to handle the funding source. And the NGOs in Haiti are going to be the implementing organizations. And all the government's going to do is oversee it to make sure that we do things to their rules and regulations. We will have large funding sources, be very comfortable with Rotary, because they know on a world stage that we are people of integrity who have a track record for handling large monies through our polio program as well as other activities. And so I'm really, I'm excited about it. We have weekly phone calls with our task force, and right now are almost ready to go out to bid for our plan for the next 12 years, which is involving organizational structure, how we actually implement this. We have 4 pilot communes that will start taking place in January. 4 out of the 142 where we'll do pilot projects to develop freshwater and sanitation in there. And each one of those communes is going to involve about $1 million expenditure. One of those communes in Cavillon, which is by Lacaille, I'll be going out to the Rotary clubs and districts in Florida to have those clubs and districts hopefully endorse it and have Florida take on the first commune. I already have my first commitment from a Rotarian of $100,000 of the $1 million, and I have a corporate entity that will match every dollar for dollar up to the $500,000. So it should be pretty easy for us to collect the $1 million that we need to do the first commune. I will pause now, Andrew, if I may, and ask if there are any more questions, please, rather than me just ramble.
John, that's really exciting. I know we have some Floridians on the call tonight, so including our governor or one of our governors. So that's really exciting that you share that news and vision with us. So anything that we can do, that would be awesome. So anything we can do for our district or whatever, I'm sure you'll let our 8 governors in Florida know. And then anything we can do with in the clubs to get along with that initiative, that would just be awesome. So thanks so much for sharing that. John, one thing, I know we have about 20 minutes or so, and I know we'll have some questions, but one thing I wanted to bring up, and something I think Jim and I spoke about, and some of our e-clubbers, this is certainly not a new initiative, but I would love to get your feedback, and also maybe since, obviously you work so close with President Barry, what are some of your thoughts for the future and vision with e-clubs? What can we do? I mean, obviously we are a club, and now we're considered certainly the same as a brick and mortar e-club, but what can we do? What are your visions? What can we do maybe that we're not doing? What sources can we use, obviously from RI, and to really, attract some great Rotarians who want to be a part of something a little bit different, being an e-club. I know we have clubs all around the world. We speak, Canada One Club is wonderful. I'm sorry they're not on here tonight, but they do some incredible things everywhere from Chicago and so many places around the world. But I would love to hear from you about that. And I know Paul has a question. Is it true that RI has eliminated the E in E-Club? So I'll let you speak about some of those things, and I'm sure we'll probably have some follow-up questions.
All righty. Thank you. Paul, I don't know that answer about the E and E-Club. It would be logical. I would think it'd be logical to remove it because it as you're mentioning, it's just one derivative of a Rotary Club. So why separate with an E-Club? Oddly enough, the Strategic Planning Committee right now is looking at E-Clubs and looking at your success because it's understanding that in some ways the model in which we've established might not work for the traditional model we have now might not work in the future. And you may have heard that right now they're looking at a vertical model for Rotary, meaning that you could be a member of Rotary without actually being affiliated with a club. And you may be affiliated because of a cause, and you might be the Rotary Club who was working with water and sanitation projects around the world, but have no physical meeting place. You might be a member of Rotary and just go to big events. So the strategic planning committee right now is developing, as is a membership committee, developing the thought of the thought of how we can develop a different model, and they are using e-clubs right now as a testing, as far as they're concerned, to see how well it's doing. So the other issue, Andrew, is that you know that in the last council, the flexibility of a Rotary Club has been blown up. You know, a Rotary Club can do almost anything, but the problem is that 90% of the clubs, I would imagine, don't even know that they have the flexibility. And because they don't know that there's flexibility, they don't know that there's a concept of like an e-club that they can change their club or establish another club in so many different ways. They are all believing that we still have this old structure that is unchangeable. We need to continue to educate the Rotarians out there, and I think it needs to be done. I think the communications committee at Rotary, as well as the publication staff, probably needs to do a better job at educating members about the different alternatives out there. So I think you guys are doing well. And I think Strategic Planning Committee will only boost you up more when they start saying, here is what Rotary should look like in the future. And by the way, it's right now. We're doing it with e-clubs.
And John, that would be awesome. I was just thinking, as you said that would be a great Rotarian issue to have a really great story about just what you said in print, what's developing. So however we could help with that or whatever, I see a lot of hands going up. I think that would be awesome. Maybe if you could get in touch with them and maybe reach out to some of the e-clubs, and maybe we could get something going because everybody reads the Rotarian. So perhaps that might be really a great way to show our successes. I know we don't have time tonight, but there's such great success stories from Dominica to water, fresh water, polio plus, everything that we are doing virtually with our e-clubs all around the world. So I think that could be a great way to get the word out.
Agreed. Mike, what are you talking about when you say about the energy at the convention? You're on mute, Mike.
Yeah, I've been to 9 conventions, John. First of all, thank you for your time tonight. It's been very inspiring. And I've never seen such an energy at the convention. There were people singing and carrying on crazy at the closing session and the other sessions. I know the Bahamas was in the house, but
That was the Bahamas.
there were, it seemed like they started the closing session about 15 minutes later than expected because we were all singing to the songs that the band was playing and that. And I'm just wondering if this is a result of the new focus on young people in Rotary, because I know that Barry and Ian, and I understand now Mark as well, are focusing on youth in Rotary because, as you were saying just now about the Rotary clubs are still stuck in the, I want to use the term, old fart ways. Is it because of the youth energy that we saw that at the Toronto convention? And is this a result of Ian, Barry, and Mark's wanting to bring young people more into the leadership roles of Rotary?
I think some of it happened organically, Mike. But I will also tell you that I'll relate the International Assembly to the convention. The International Assembly was, in my view, and I've been to a lot of them, probably one of the best international assemblies we've ever had, as far as energy, excitement. And the reason why the assembly was so good was because Barry Rassin said to staff, do what you want to do to make it the best assembly you can. Barry did not micromanage and say, we're going to do all these things the way I want to do them from my perspective as a 70-year-old man. And you got these 25 and 30-year-old staff members who could just, if you give them the strength and the flexibility to do what they want, will make things awesome. In the same way at the convention, basically staff reacted to what was going on in the audience. And they understood that things were happening here that were not totally in their control. And so they allowed it to morph into a party. Without also being said that Barry met with the Rotaract group prior to closing ceremony. And he's told the Rotaractors, I want to hear you and I want to see you at my closing ceremony. And the Rotaractors are the ones who got people going crazy. Sergeant Arms came up to me at one point in time when the Rotaractors started flooding the front of the VIP area.
I saw that.
They said, do we stop? They said, no, bring them in. This is what's making it fun. And so it was, I have to believe, I mean, I know how incredible staff is. And if you give them the opportunity to simply do things the way they believe it should be done, Rotary is going to be taken pretty far. And we have to understand as volunteers, as a president and the board of directors, what our role is. And our role is not to run the secretariat. It's not to micromanage. Our role is to look at broad things, 35,000 feet high things. And the president's role, and Barry understands it very well, Barry's role is to motivate the Rotarians out in the field. That's what he's there for. That's why he only spends 25 days of the year in the office, because staff does it. So you're seeing the greatness of our organization because we have some incredible young talent at the headquarters.
They can't hear me, can they? Oh.
There you are.
I have another question then. While we're talking about the incredible talent at the headquarters, it seems that a lot of the people that I've spoke to at various conventions that are Rotary staff are not Rotarians. They're just regular people.
It's being fixed, Mike. There was at one point in time a policy in Rotary that only the senior staff members would be Rotarians, and that was changed by the board of directors in the January board meeting, and so they are now encouraging all staff members to be Rotarians, no matter where you are around the world. And oddly enough, we don't even have a Rotaract club in Evanston right now. And I went crazy with Adam Doty, who is in charge of youth services, saying, how is it possible you don't have a Rotaract club in Evanston? They're starting one. So we are encouraging all staff members. In fact, even beyond that, we are now paying for their membership. If any staff member wants to be Rotarian, we're paying for their membership through the club, through the organization. So we hear you. Any other questions, Andrew?
I just sent the chat out that, and I know we talked about this a long time ago briefly in Orlando, John, but there's some interest to have an online Rotaract club. I spoke to students at a university, and they would love to join via Rotaract because they said with their schedules and time, it's really what they can do. And it perhaps could be a hybrid where obviously it would be a part of also part of a ground club. But I took it upon myself to do a little round robin, a little focus group, and with about 20 students at Lynn University in Boca Raton, and they were really interested, and they were for their future. They knew about Rotary, and they said that would be something that they really could be interested in, and time permitting, something that they could do.
What's interesting, Andrew, is that when I was on the board of directors to 10 to 12, that was at, if I'm not mistaken, at the end of what was the pilot program for e-clubs. And at that point in time, we had both Rotary e-clubs and we had Rotaract e-clubs. The Rotary e-clubs were doing well. The Rotaract e-clubs were failing. At that point in time, we only had one out of all the pilots that we had started that continued on at 2010. And the response from the Rotaractors was, we do so much now online that we prefer to meet in person. And so we chose at that point to not continue with the e-clubs for Rotaract, but to endorse to the council the Rotary e-clubs because they were succeeding. So unless there is a different mindset now than there was 8 years ago when the pilot came, I don't know. But we've tried it once before and it didn't happen. So no one has decided to reintroduce that to the council. Robin says that Robin, we have interest in membership with dues of only $140 per year to age 30.
Yeah, this is to encourage the Rotaractors who are coming out of school. They don't have too much money, and that is always a consideration. So as a club, we decided to try a reduced fee. And we give them a title, associate member, to break down our fees, to categorize it. But they're a member in every sense of the word, and up to age 30. We tell them that if they start earning money, we expect them to pay a little bit more as time goes on. And we have a young lady in that position who is doing our programs for us now, has been doing quite well. And in fact, I talked with her today to possibly, would she take a position on the board? And she's thinking about that because she has commitments. She's involved in some political activist type person over in Tallahassee, in Florida. So her after hours work time is kind of limited, but what she's doing suits her. She can get online. She gets out, and this is the key. All e-club members really need to get out and get that fellowship that we need in our local clubs or another organization if there isn't a club nearby. That's the key to successful e-club, that the Rotarians themselves, the members, get out and get involved in local club activities.
That's interesting, Robin. I'm happy to hear it's working. I know that the membership committee at Rotary discussed that as a possibility to do a tiered dues structure. In the end, the committee had thought that probably it wasn't going to endorse it because they wanted, when a member came into a club, they wanted to make sure that they felt like a full-fledged member. And this was actually coming from some of the younger people. We have some under 30s on our membership committee. they said they don't want to be looked upon differently than the other members. But again, because of the flexibility, Robin, I say try everything. And whatever works at your club, do it. And if that's working, then you need to do it. And I think that, again, clubs are being so stuck to some old ideas that they have to do what's necessary to make it work. But the membership committee, it's in itself won't endorse it. But if it's working in your club, you got to keep doing it. It looks like my time is almost up, and I want to keep you too long. I see a lot of you guys are drinking wine. I'm seeing Stafford drinking wine there, and I'm sitting here with no wine. You see, this isn't, Rob, you're a good man. You got rum in that thing. I know you do.
Yeah, but you're working with tricks, John, because you got a blank screen, so we can't see what the heck you're doing, and yet you can see us, so that's not fair.
I know, and
I'm going to call your sergeant at arms so that when you go to your club, you're going to get fined.
I wish you would. Thank you. Anything else, Andrew?
John,
you good?
Yeah, John, this is great. And to follow up on it, what suggestions do you have? We would love to have, this is great. If we could do this every other month, and obviously, we'd love to have you back again in the future, but could we reach out to, obviously some of those in RI to come on a call just like you did, and who would share with us, and maybe how to do that. Maybe some of the some Rotarians who would like to come on who to share with us, maybe a list or something like that, or whatever. Because it's just really great. I'd love to continue on with it.
I can promise you that I will line you up the next 4 or 5 times you want a speaker. A guy like Brad Howard from California, who is the chairman of the communications committee. Tom Thorfinson, who is strategic officer for Rotary, I'm sure will do it. I'm sure John Huco would be happy to do it. So I will copy you in an email to a number of people. Jennifer Jones, another example, a person who'd love to have on.
Oh, she's great.
And so to me, I will copy you on an email to 4 or 5 or 6 notable Rotarians around. Another one, Holger Knock from Germany, would be a great person. He's in charge of youth activities for Rotary. I'll get these guys. These women and men will be happy to do this because it's valuable. It's an interesting concept for me. I'm happy I'd be a part of it to know more about it. And so I'll get you guys to talk.
That would be awesome. Thank you so much, John, because we really like to keep this going. And I think it's a great idea that we do it through these multiple e-club model that we're doing, because we're getting so many, as you see tonight, the screen is full. It's not always like this, but we're having people all around the world on our e-clubs and on ground. So this is awesome. We'd love to keep this going, just like Mike was saying, what happened in Toronto. I have a buzz from this. Just another really, I'm feeling it tonight, and I think we all are. And this is sort of the shot in the arm I think we really need to get back to our members who are not on tonight. We told them this is going to be a great call. We have it taped, but I think if they see this, they're going to really start coming on, being a part of it, and being the inspiration, as you and Barry like to say. So I think this is great. I think you started, John. I can't thank you enough for all of us here tonight. You really gave us the shot in the arm for this Rotary year to really have some great speakers and to share what's happening in Rotary like you did tonight, some great stories and things that are happening that I think we'll all be able to talk about and work on in our clubs and districts for this Rotary year. So thank you so much, John, from all of us.
Rotarians, I appreciate it, Andrew, and Rotarians, thank you for what you're all doing around the world and your part of the world, and continue to be the inspiration. And I send Barry his regards to y'all.
Thank you, John.
And John, we're all clapping. And Will, I know Will. I hope you're feeling better. He came on the call tonight. He just had some surgery. So, well, I want you, past district governor, to lead the four-way test.
All right. Four-way test are things we think, do, and say. Is it the truth?
Is it the truth?
Is it fair to all concerned?
Fair to all concerned. Is it
fair to all concerned?
Goodwill and better friendship.
Will it be
And
Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Cool.
And will it be fun?
Awesome. And will it be fun? Thank you, Mike.
It's a Rotary around the world.
Thanks, everybody.
Rotary around the world.
Take care. Good to see you, David.
Good night now.
Thank you.
All right.
John, Jim and I, we want to thank you again for being here. Thank you so much, and hopefully we'll see you all again in the near future. Thanks, everybody, and have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thanks.